Welcome to PodcastOne. We hope you'll support our sponsors who bring you these podcasts absolutely free and with limited interruptions. And of course, we appreciate you listening to this show, which will get started in just a second.
The Steve Austin Show Unleashed is sponsored in part this week by DDP Yoga. If you've heard the podcast before, you know that I love to talk about DDP Yoga because it's helped so many people from all walks of life, and it can work for you too. If you haven't, head over to ddpyoga.com/Austin to check it out. DDP Yoga. There ain't no actors, no models. It's just real people with real transformations. For instance, check out this cat, Jared Malenkoff, who DDP met on the streets of Utah. Jared had lost 190 pounds in 8 months of doing DDP yoga. And then fast forward 9 months later, and Jared's lost 313 pounds. Go to ddpyoga.com/Austin and check out the Labor Day sale they're having right now that takes 25% off DVDs. There's also the DDP Yoga Now app for working out on the go, available on Apple and Android devices. And if you are in the UK, meet Diamond Dallas Page as he goes on his DDP Yoga UK tour. There are dates from September 8th to September 18th. So get all the details by going to ddpuktour.com. But again, go to ddpyoga.com/Austin and be on your way to not only changing your life, but owning your life.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're going to take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is Steve Austin, Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show Unleashed. I'm coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. My guest today is my good friend from South Texas, Ted Fowler, 361. Before I get to Ted, I got to give you guys a little bit of business about the new PodcastOne app. Hey, the new PodcastOne app is now available for download in the App Store or Google Play. And there ain't another podcast app like this one anywhere, and that's because the new PodcastOne app is loaded with some cool features that let you do a lot more than just listen to your favorite shows. You can access behind-the-scenes photos, articles, and connect with other fans of the shows you like. And you can watch over 1,000 360 virtual reality shows. You can actually watch some of your favorite shows in virtual reality. It's like you're sitting right there in the room with them. So get to the App Store or Google Play and download the new PodcastOne app now. Well, all right, gang, I got Ted Fowler, 361, on the show today, and I finished shooting the Broken Skull Challenge. I'm starting to decompress, starting to relax out here in Marina del Rey, and planning a trip out to Nevada to see my brother-in-law, my nieces, with the family, my wife, Kristen, and our 2 dogs, Moolah and Callie. God dang, man, Callie's growing like a weed, and Moolah's mentoring her. And I tell you what, she got a couple of traits from Hershey, the Wonder Dog, before she passed, and I think she's going to be a hell of a damn dog. I'm looking forward to getting out of Los Angeles for a while after doing that shoot out there in the desert for 5 weeks and getting my workouts, really on track now. I was working out at 6 a.m. every single morning out there. Workouts are dialed in. Looking forward to taking a trip and getting out of the concrete jungle that is Los Angeles, California, as a helicopter flies right over my house. Hey, man, I tell you what, the devastation that was unleashed by Hurricane Harvey was unprecedented. Probably what they're saying the greatest, most severe natural disaster to ever occur. No telling how expensive this thing will end up being. They're saying that Katrina cost $125 billion, and this will probably top that. The lives lost, we don't know how many lives have been lost yet. It stopped, it slowed, the raining slowed in the Houston area yesterday. Hopefully, as that sun went down yesterday, as I recorded the podcast with Ted, which you're about to hear, The sun was in the sky, and it was kind of cloudy. I mean, the clouds were clear. It was not rain clouds. So hopefully that storm has moved on, and hopefully the people over there in the great state of Louisiana will weather that storm, no pun intended, and come out okay. I know they're going to get dumped on pretty good as well. And, man, they've been through a lot, so I wish them all the best and the rains that are coming your way. But this, the healing process, all the people that lost homes, their lives, their everything they have in the southeast Texas region is just devastating. It will be months before that water finds a way out of there. It will be years and years and years before a full recovery is made. And my thoughts are with everybody in that region. I grew up 100 miles south of there. My brothers still don't have electricity. My sister still doesn't have electricity. But everybody in my family is fine. But they were not in that Houston proper region, which suffered just a catastrophic, unbelievable amount of rain, over 51 inches. So I tell you what, I'd been wanting to talk to Ted. I talked to him while I was at the Broken Skull Challenge compound, right when that storm was really blowing in. And I was late to hear about the hurricane news because I was down there filming Broken Skull Challenge. I had my head so far in the sand and so busy with the task at hand that I didn't really keep up with all of the current news. And so I called Ted, and you'll hear about this on the podcast, but I said, hey, man, we got to do a podcast, once this is over, and talk about your storm prep. And we were kind of just, laughing and joking about it, a little bit nervously so, because there's a big-ass storm coming in, but Ted was, talking about riding it out or maybe loading up his dogs and heading out of town. It turns out that he rode it out, and you'll hear about how he came out in the podcast, and he's fine. And as you'll hear us in this podcast, normally when myself and Ted talk, we're laughing and joking and trying to make the best of things just because that's what we do. Humor is a big part of our relationship, and Ted is one of my closest friends and has been for over 10 years. So, hey, man, we're laughing and joking during parts of this podcast, but make no mistake about it. I know how devastating and serious this is and was and is and will be for a long time, all of the lives impacted. As you will hear Ted say verbatim in the podcast, if you don't laugh about it, you will cry about it, because that's, it's just devastating. So you're just trying to make the most out of a really horrible situation. It became apparent to me after I hung up the phone with Ted. I will say, after I hit the pause button and the podcast was over, I will leave it at this. There was an emotional moment on the telephone line between myself and Ted. And he was texting me pictures after the podcast of different houses that he had worked on all over the Rockport area. And these houses were either leveled or in some state of just being demolished. And he goes, hey, man, I put the windows in on this house. I put the doors in on this house. And these things didn't have roofs. They were just halfway torn to shreds. And Ted has lived in Rockport ever since I've known him. That's his home now, coming out of Arizona. He loves Rockport. He's emotionally vested. He is emotionally invested in that town. I don't think he will ever leave. That's how much he likes it. And I think he was still in a state of shock. He hadn't seen what was going on in the outside world. He only had a FM reception signal and an AM signal. His internet was blown down. He didn't have satellite. He had nothing. This guy's basically in the dark with respect to what's going on anywhere else. As he was sending me pictures after the podcast of all the devastation that had happened, I was sending him pictures of the southeast Texas region, and it blew him away, because it's like they got the full force of the wind and a lot of rain. And then, Houston and all those areas got all of the rain, and it just smoked everybody. So when he's talking in this podcast, we're trying to make light of the situation, but he was deeply affected today as he starts the work process, as his phone is starting to ring and people are already trying to start rebuilding or cleaning up. So, like I said, hey man, we're trying to laugh and joke, and this thing is like two guys trying to be a tough guy and just tell stories and try to get a laugh out of each other. But man, I tell you what, you talk about a guy, he was scared to death when this thing went down, and he decided to ride it out, and he ended up coming out okay, and a lot of people did not. So when you listen to this podcast, we're trying to laugh and joke a couple of times, but make no mistake about it. This is a serious storm. I don't know if people across the United States understand how devastating this thing is, but it is about as serious as you can get. Ted and I both know that. And I'm from South Texas, and I will always consider Texas my home. And it's just sad to see all of my fellow Texans in such a state of disarray and discombobulation and hurt. And I feel for all of the losses and all of the suffering that these people are going through, and that whole region will take years to recover, and it will never be the same. So my conversation, I'll just wrap it up right now. We try to be kind of funny in this podcast, try to cut a few jokes and talk about some shit, but we both know how serious things are. And if you're scattered all over the United States and you're not in this region, get on the Weather Channel and check out all the devastation and damage. I'll say in the podcast, Kristen, my wife, and I have made donations to different organizations in the Houston area, whether it's the Red Cross or I know J.J. Watt is behind a big fundraiser over there. If it's J.J. Watt's You Caring site, if you got $5, $10, $2, whatever, if you can donate to the recovery efforts in South Texas, you pick your own charity. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If you can spare it. If you can't, then you can't. But anyway, I'm rambling now, but I want to make sure that you know that I know how serious this is as I try to talk with Ted Fowler, 361. With that being said, there's something about TrueCar a lot of people don't know, and that's TrueCar can also help you find a used car. In fact, there are over 700,000 pre-owned vehicles available from TrueCar certified dealers nationwide. Whether you're looking to buy new or used, TrueCar gets you upfront pricing information that empowers, letting you see what other people paid for the car you want so you can know what a fair price is and feel confident. And with TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing to make the process quick and easy. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states. Also, fantasy football fans, the wait is nearly over. Football is back, which means FanDuel is back. FanDuel is fantasy football for everyday fans, and there are new contests starting every week. There's something for everyone at FanDuel. Lots of contests to choose from, starting at just $1. Just pick a contest, choose your team, and watch your score in real time. Hey, here's the thing. Over 2.5 million players have won a cash prize playing fantasy sports on FanDuel. Sign up today. Just go to FanDuel.com, click the Join Now button, and use my code, Austin. Don't get left out this NFL season. Try FanDuel for free with no deposit required. Visit FanDuel.com to claim your free contest and play for a share of $10,000. Just sign up using my promo code, Austin. That's FanDuel.com, promo code Austin. Void where prohibited.
Here at PodcastOne, we love hearing from you. We read every tweet and comment you send our way, so don't miss your chance to take our summer listener survey. Just go to PodcastOne.com and click on the survey banner, or go to PodcastOne.com/mysurvey. It only takes a few minutes, and it gives you the opportunity to make a direct impact on your favorite shows. Tell us how you really feel, so we can get to know you better. We value your thoughts and participation, so check out the survey at PodcastOne.com/mysurvey, or click on the survey banner on PodcastOne.com.
This is Steve Austin Unleashed.
All right, man, I'm talking to Ted Fowler, 361, over in Rockport, Texas. God damn it, Teddy, how are you?
Dude, I'm a lot wiser about hurricane preparedness and when is the right time to get the fuck out of Dodge.
God damn, boy, you talk about devastation. I've been glued to the Weather Channel ever since I got back from filming Broken Skull Challenge. And here's a setup story. I was out there filming, and then all of a sudden I start hearing word of a hurricane in South Texas. And I'm like, man, what the fuck are they talking about a hurricane in South Texas? Because, dude, I'm so busy filming the show. So I said, well, fuck. I told Teddy after I sent him a text message when I put Hershey down, Krista and I said, man, I texted Teddy what had happened. I said, I'll give you a call. Hell, I never called just because that's the way it goes. And I said, well, this is the perfect time to call Ted. So I gave him a call, and the fucking storm was brewing in. So, dude, did you start following this thing from the get-go, or what was up? Because, you chose to road it out. How did you first hear about the summit?
Everybody was watching it, because that's what you do. Once you hear rumblings of a storm in the Gulf, if you're down here, you pay attention to it, And I've got a bunch of customers that, they have second homes down here, so they're calling me up and they're like, dude, what do you think? I think I'm a carpenter, not a weatherman. Fuck, I don't know. Those people don't get the weather correct when it's a good day. So shit, I really don't know. I was telling them, hey, I'm not boarding up my house. I'm not worried about it. But if you want me to go board up your house, I'll do it. And then come around Wednesday evening, you start looking at that thing and it's like, man, there's a pretty good chance we're going to get wet on this one. I could use the rain because my pond is way down. And then Thursday morning, people really started sweating and my phone really started blowing up. Dude, I don't have wood to cover my windows. If you can just go get the wood and cover my windows, dude, I'll pay you when I see you, charge me whatever. It's that type of urgency with these people. And dude, you know how I am. I'm trying to help everybody out. It's like, all right, well, I'll put you on the list. And then I worked until dark Thursday, and my helper, he takes care of his grandmother, and I told him about noon. I was like, look, dude, if you're sweating with your grandmother and you want to get her to San Antonio, dude, leave. Don't hang out with me because I'll work till dark, because, that's just what I'm going to do. And so he left about 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon. I worked until dark by myself. When I went to bed Thursday evening, I still had 4 houses that I had told people I would board up. I got up Friday morning and it's pouring down rain, and I'm like, yeah, boy. So you're either gonna tell everybody, hey, I did the best I could and bail and get stuck in traffic, or what? So my biggest fear was loading up all 3 of those dogs and heading out of town and getting jammed up in the traffic, in the tide that was rolling out with all those people. And I ain't smart at all. And I said, well, fuck it, I'll go board up these houses. In the rain, by myself, boarded up those 4 houses, came home, boarded up my own house, and I'm like, well, now I'm really fucked. Because it's raining like hell. Traffic is shit. I can't leave. I'm going to hunker down. And then I start hearing rumblings of, it's Category 4 and everybody needs to evacuate. And it's like, well, fuck. Yeah. So it was a very poor decision on my part to stay. And like I told you the other day, man, I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. I hear on the weather, hey, there's 30% chance of rain in Rockport. Come on, dogs, we're getting the hell out of here.
Well, the thing about it was, man, I've been the first time you and me had talked in a long time. And I gave you the Hershey story, the details, and got to relive that. And then we caught up a little bit. And we were laughing and joking, and because like, hey man, how many half gallons of Jack Daniels you got? That kind of shit. And yeah. Damn, man, we were just messing around, and I've been glued to the Weather Channel ever since all this shit started happening. And I know you guys got smoked because that's where the goddamn Hurricane Harvey came ashore, was right there in Rockport, Texas, and y'all got smoked. Yeah, Port Aransas got smoked. A lot of people got smoked from a wind. Then it turned into a tropical storm, and I'm thinking, okay, man, well now it's a lot better because it ain't a hurricane. God damn! Then I saw that footage from the space station. It showed that big-ass cell hanging over Texas. I said, motherfucker, that's a bunch of clouds. But I just figured since it was downgraded to a tropical storm, no big deal. And then I just figured, it's going to rain a little bit, but, fuck, then it'll blow out and it'll be fine. God damn, dude, I'm watching the shit go down in Houston, the whole southeast region. They got 51 inches of rain. God, dude,
wow.
Dude, I don't know what they get a year. Maybe 20, 25 inches, and maybe, I don't even know, but I just know that this is an insane amount of fucking rain. And, like Houston, if 4 inches of rain dumps in Houston, like lickety split, it's smoked.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you throw in 51 over the course of a few days, and I'm watching these people. There's a road, and there's nothing but airboats, little John boats, and they've taken the place of cars because all the cars are underwater. And I'm thinking people are walking chest high, carrying their dogs on their shoulders. Man, you talk about heartbreaking and devastating. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I just figured my dumb ass, you're talking about how dumb you are. Well, fuck, I got you beat. I figured, tropical storm, it'll rain a little bit and then it'll stop. Nah, man, I just saw a clip of the sun. They showed the sun. The clouds finally broke in Houston. It might circle back, but the clouds finally broke. But God dang, dude, here's the thing. It stopped raining, thank God. But man, that fucking water, it ain't going nowhere for a long time, and it's a shit pile of water.
Yeah, not for a long time. Well, I saw the sun today for the first time. It was sunny this morning. I woke up and actually had cell coverage. My cell phone worked where I could make calls because I was having to drive into town to get an intermittent signal so I could text. Let everybody know, I was good. And then it would last for 3 or 4 minutes and then boom, no service. I got up this morning and, I didn't think anything. I just turned my phone on thinking it wasn't going to work. Started cooking some eggs and did message, voicemail, message. That thing started blowing up. I had about 42 voicemails,
Jeez.
From people that I know wanting to check on their stuff, if asking how I was, and it's like, and I mean, don't take this the wrong way. I mean, everybody's concerned, but they're like, hey, dude, hope you're all right. How's my place? I had a chance to drive by. Do I still have, hey, it's good to hear from you. Yeah, the dogs are good. I planted some carrots and, waiting for them to come up. What's at your house? Oh, shit, I don't know. Yeah. So I made a list and I'm driving around and, dude, I'll tell you what, it sucks to have to call these people and tell them or text them and go back and forth with the texting saying, hey man, your roof is gone, your house is fucked, everything that's in there is destroyed. It's a total loss. Well, dude, you rode out the storm. How did you do? I didn't lose a shingle. But let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. It's like,
right.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like, man, how do you tell somebody, oh, case in point, man, that remodel that I was doing. I showed you those pictures. I was 3 weeks from pulling out of that thing, turning the house over to her, going, hey, there you go. Your coastal house of your dreams, just what you wanted. The whole goddamn thing's leveled. Like, oh, shit. I mean, I just gotten the painter out of there. The place was freshly painted. The flooring was in. The cabinets were in. I was waiting on countertops and ceiling fans and toilets, and I was out of there. And I go over there, and it's sticks. It's nothing.
Go back to the when you decided to make the call, because you're like you're going to flip a coin. And we were still kind of ribbing each other. Hey, man, you got plenty of jack. And then you decided to ride it out. And then you told me, you say, hey, man, I ain't never doing that shit again. If they say it's going to be a hurricane, I'm gone. So once you decided to hunker down, Kristen told me, I mean, because I go back to what you said. I would send you a text message or you'd go right to voicemail. I'd leave you a voice message, and I would hear nothing back, and I wouldn't get a text back. So because you didn't have no damn service. So I'm thinking, well, man, right. I think Teddy's okay, but I don't know. And then you'd send me just like a 3 or 4 word text that I'm okay. So I'm like, okay. I'll send him another text about a half a day later. So my Kristen told me she sent you a text, or maybe you left her a voicemail. I can't remember because your reception is so shitty. But I thought she said you ended up, either drilling your front door closed with a long-ass screw or nailing it shut, because you were up against that motherfucker holding it shut. What happened?
All right, dude, here's the deal. Well, first off, Friday morning, Weasel called me up, and he and his wife peeled off, Mike, my fishing buddy, Weasel.
Yeah.
He and his wife peeled off and went to their place up in Pflugerville, which is up by Austin. And he's like, oh, buddy. He said, hey, boy, it's getting bad. You need to get your ass out of there. And I'm like, dude, I got houses to board up. I can't leave these people high and dry. And that's when I kind of half-ass made the decision, I'm going to stay and ride it out, because I told these people, and at that time, I think it has been upgraded to Category 3. Which, they're like, dude, it winds is 70, 80 miles an hour. Dude, I've driven that fast in the car and stuck my head out the window. Fuck, how bad could this be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is very scientific, Teddy, very scientific.
Dude, that's how I roll. And, that's when I made the decision, fuck it, I'm going to stay. If I was going to leave, I should have left yesterday, but I'm here. Let's do what we can. Now, getting back to the door. I had just replaced the back door of my house, which was just a regular full light, meaning it was like 90% glass, a big ass piece of glass, a little metal rim around it. I had just replaced that thing 2 weeks ago with an impact resistant full light door, also 90% glass. I haven't even painted it yet. And when I went to board up my house Friday in the rain, last house I boarded up, I walked in through that impact-resistant door. Now, obviously, there's no way to board that up, or I wouldn't be able to get into the house. So as the storm started, the wind was blowing out of the north, and I was cool because the north end of my house is all boarded up. Well, about 10 o'clock, the wind really started humping about 6 o'clock. The wind and the rain started humping about 6 o'clock. And I thought, boy, this is going to be something. And I'm still getting a little bit of cell service. And I could remember seeing a video of Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel. And he says, and I quote, if you people have not evacuated Rockport, you are in for the worst night of your life. And I'm thinking, motherfucker.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm looking, okay, you know what? It's supposed to make landfall between 8 and 10 o'clock. Here in Rockport, that's when it's really gonna get shitty. And the wall before the eye, it's gonna be in excess of 100-mile-an-hour winds. Well, that stuff started coming out of the north. Dude, I was stressed when it started, blowing that hard, because I've never gone through anything like that. House is all boarded up. It's, I can hear noises outside. Everything's cool. All of a sudden, there's this humongous crash, and the damn tree in my front yard blew over, and it hit the front of the house. And I'm like, holy cow. I mean, just shook the house, scared the shit out of me. But the wind is humping. Everything's cool. All of a sudden, the wind dies down, and that's when the eye came over. And this is probably 10, 11 o'clock at night. The eye came over. Dude, I went outside. I'm looking at the house. Well, dude, I'm solid. Tree blew over. No big thing. I start texting people. Shit, I called you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, dude, that was pretty scary, man. I mean, I fucked up by saying, but, it's calm as shit now. And I remember you saying, dude, it ain't over. That's something. I can't see anything. I lost power. At 7 o'clock Friday evening. And here it is. It's Tuesday, right?
Yep.
I mean, that was a question. I'm a week away from having power because this town is so destroyed. But I walked out and, dude, I mean, dead ass calm. No wind, no rain, no nothing. And I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I've made it. I'll never do that again. And about that time, the wind started picking up from the southeast, and it started raining, and it started blowing, and it was raining more. And I got my narrow ass back inside of the house, and I closed that impact-resistant door. And, when you close the door, a regular door like that, the only thing closing is the handle catch and the deadbolt. That's the only thing that's holding it. Dude, that wind in the blink of an eye, picked up, and the driving rain was going sideways against the back of the house, and that door was basically pivoting on the deadbolt and the catch. And when the top would push open, water would come in, and when the bottom would push open, water would come in, and it was just, like a baffle, just boom, 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 like that. And I'm sitting there going, motherfucker. And I grabbed a bunch of towels and I put them on down at the threshold of the door to try to soak up some of that water. The dogs are curled up on the couch. They know something's up, but they're just sitting there, and the wind is picking up and picking up and picking up and picking up. And all of a sudden, whoop, another tree goes over and it starts coming towards the house. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Because the back windows are boarded up, but the door isn't. So I could see all the shit, with a flashlight. And this is maybe 12:30 that it started really getting shitty. And then, whoop, another tree fell over and it starts blowing towards the back of the house. And then they hit the little gazebo I got back there and they stopped. And I was like, oh, thank God. Dude, the wind really picked up. And I thought, man, if this door gives way, I'm screwed. This is God's honest truth, man. For 2 hours, I stood there with my foot against the bottom of the door and both my hands against the top of the door, pushing against that door to hold that thing. And water is cascading down the door from the driven rain. And I'm just sitting there going, holy balls. If this door gives way, if this glass blows out, I am screwed. I'm trying to think, man, can I, take my couch and put it up in front of the door? Can I, stack all these weights? Can I move any equipment in front of the door to brace it? That's how worried I was. And like I said, it's a brand new door. $800 door. I look down, there's my drill. There's, 5-gallon bucket of deck screws, 3-inch deck screws. I grabbed a handful. I put about 15 screws through that door into the frame. And I'm like, fuck it, man. I'll buy a new door. I'm like, dude, I've been here for 2 goddamn hours holding this motherfucker, and there's no relief in sight. The wind is just blowing harder and harder and harder. It's hitting the house, and as soon as I get that door screwed together, I walk to the front of the house, and I'm just standing there looking at the door, just, kind of half-ass freaking out, honestly. And all of a sudden I hear this, wow, this big-ass, noise. That was the tree being lifted off of the house now that the wind is going the other way, and it blew it out and it hit another tree. And I'm like, dude, I fucked up. I go into my bedroom, and I pack a bag, and I grab cash out of the safe. I grab a couple pair of drawers, a couple pair of socks, a couple of pistols, sunglasses. I'm not exactly sure why I threw them in there. Car keys. And I'm going, man, if the roof of this house peels off, I'm going to carry those dogs one at a time out to the Dodge. I'm going to put them in the Dodge. I'm going to fire that thing up, throw it in reverse, and as fast as I can, I'm going to back straight up into the brush. And I'm going to go as far as I can, as deep as I can into the brush, and hope to Christ I survive this thing. Get out to the bypass and go, hey, I'm leaving the eye of the hurricane, so, anybody need anything from Corpus? I'm going, Yeah, and I was just there, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I mean, if the roof comes off, I'm fucked.
But that was your game plan? Back into the brush and just hope that gives you some coverage?
Real deal.
God damn. Dude, I know how proud you are of that pickup truck. You don't want to scratch it up. When you're talking about just backing it off. Because when you're talking about brush, you're talking about trees, bushes. That's what he means.
Yeah.
But you're just trying to get out of harm's way.
Going until I hit something that stopped my motion, which would have been a tree.
Right.
I'd have driven through all that brush until I hit a fucking oak tree that stopped me. And that's where broken windows and all that shit, we'd have hunkered down and hope for the best. That was, my end result game plan. Hand to God, man. And like, whoo, Daddy, I'm glad it didn't come to that.
Okay, now we were talking about, we were just bullshitting around. I mean, we were being serious, but we were also joking around. Hey, man, you got plenty of jack, all that bullshit. So when the storm starts blowing in and you start walking out into that eye and it was real calm, or did you say, hey, it's time, I might as well get me a drink now? Or were you drinking while all this shit was going on? Tell me what was going on.
Dude, I fixed myself a stiff jacket coat. I said, boy, you earned it. You earned it. Yeah, I fixed myself a stiff one. And about that time, I was halfway through, and that wind started blowing, and I put that drink glass on the weight rack, and I put my back into holding that door, and I said, fuck that drinking. I finished for the first time in my life. I finished about half a Jack and Coke, and I tapped out. I said, fuck that. I want to, I need to keep my faculties about me. I thought, you know what, I'll have one or two, kind of settle my nerves. I'll get a little sleep and stuff. No, dude, that wasn't the case. I finished half of that drink, and it was still there the next morning. Tip of the hat to Yeti. They make a hell of a glass because the ice is still in it. But yeah, no, fuck. Dude, my grandiose ideas of sitting here, drinking Jack and Coke and letting this storm blow through. No, dude, that was very, very poor planning on my part. Yeah.
Dude,
I'm drinking now, though. Yeah.
Dude, I rode a couple tornadoes way back in the day when we grew up in Victoria and that whole area, and then we were on the edge of a couple of hurricanes, but obviously nothing the scope of what Harvey was. And, it's just weird, and I can imagine how when everything just starts settling down, and you can see that just impending doom and darkness, it's just ominous, and it's just fucking scary, because I remember you talking about when the pressure dropped, you could feel it.
Yeah.
What was that all about? To scare the fuck out of you? Like, hey, man, it's kind of a come to Jesus moment. Because when Mother Nature starts coming at your ass in the form of the hurricane that motherfucker was, God dang, dude. Well, okay, I want to ask you about some of the landscape there because I saw so many of the pictures. And, when I used to go down to Rockport, I still have many of those visuals still in my mind. But when that pressure dropped and it really got quiet and that wind switched around on you, you knew you wasn't going to get no sleep and you was in for a long fucking ride. And like you said, if the roof comes off, you're going to back your truck up into the brush. Are you kicking yourself in the ass at this time? Like, hey, man, this is a stupid fucking move. I got these 3 dogs depending on me. And we were joking about your chicken coop. But, thankfully they made it. But what the fuck was going through your mind when that shit was about to really come in?
I made a huge mistake. And I'll tell you what, man, you've ever ridden out a hurricane? The first part of the hurricane is the drizzle and sits. Once the eye passes over, and dude, the eye passed over, the town of Rockport. And as big as that storm was, my house was encapsulated in the eye. Once it passed over, and the second part of that hurricane, that's when it really got shitty, man. That's when the bad stuff started happening. And dude, I'll tell you what, man, I'll tell you, I've never been so scared in my whole goddamn life. Hand to God, I have never been so scared in my entire life, that I really truly thought it, you know what, man, you fucked up and it's yeah. If in my mind, if the roof had come off of this place, fuck the contents, it's my dogs, and if you got one dog, you can hold on to that motherfucker and hope for the best. But with 3 dogs, ain't got that many arms. And it's like, man, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And your mind is just racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. Hell, I didn't go to bed until about 6 o'clock that morning. And the only reason why I went to bed is because I was exhausted. I was just like, so stressed out and so amped up over the whole situation. It was like, finally I just said, hey, man, the wind is still blowing 60, 70 miles an hour at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, I think I've weathered the worst, but fuck it. If it's coming, it's going to come, so I'm going to lay down. I laid down and I got about 2 hours sleep and then, I was right back up.
Damn, dude, I saw, before I ask you about some of the landscape, tell me about your house, because you just sent me one picture. I could see that one side of it. You had the window boarded up.
Yeah.
But how was it that you didn't lose a single shingle?
Well, I'm surrounded by a ton of oak trees, and about 18 feet up off of the ground, every tree around here is sheared off. There are no leaves on the trees. There's not a single item in the town of Rockport over 18 feet tall, 18, 20 feet tall. Mm. That's where the real crappy wind gusts came. And, dude, snap power poles I got real fortunate. And remember, man, I built this house, so I mean, it's overstrapped, it's
Right.
over bolted, I mean, that's, it's my crib, so I'm going to do it. And I boarded up, and I used, good screws to hold it on, had good window coverings. I got real fortunate. I got real fortunate that a number of the big oak trees I have around here did not strike the house. I had one tree hit the house, and then it blew off, and that was it. I didn't. But then before the hurricane came, I secured my place. I got all of my patio furniture, and there was no loose stuff outside. That was going to be a projectile in the blowing wind, and I don't have any neighbors close enough to where their shit came into my yard. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was real fortunate. I'll tell you who gets screwed is the people that, are in the building communities, subdivisions, because they're elbow to elbow. And when your neighbor's place goes apart, it's like shrapnel. And the other people that get screwed are the ones that are directly on the coast where they got no trees, they got no barrier. We want, I want that ocean view. Guess what? You fucking got it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I've got a real strong canopy of trees around here, and now they took an absolute beating, but it saved my house. It saved the house.
Was there any damage to the house? Do you got to do any repairs? I know you're going to take the boards off, but I mean, like, what do you have to do with other than picking up all the limbs and trees and shit like that? Do you have to make any repairs on the house other than unscrewing your door?
my weather vane, that got bent over. I could probably find a way to salvage that. But no. Fortunately, I don't have to do a single thing to my house. Somebody's like, insurance claims. I'm like, man, I feel bad because a lot of these people suffered a great loss. I can't file a claim because, dude, I don't even have to re-shingle my roof on the shop, on the laundry room, on the house. Dude, I didn't lose a shingle. Shit, the metal is still on my chicken coop. I don't even have to rebuild that.
God damn, dude, you were protected. So how did the chickens fare? They were they shaking up, or were they shitting eggs? What the fuck were they doing?
No, dude, and I'm a little upset about them right now because I've only got 17 eggs left, and those are store-bought eggs. They've kind of been shut down. They're obviously they're doing their own little protest. They were shaken up. They were wet. They were all huddled into the corner. Them bitches ain't laid an egg since.
Really?
Friday since the storm. Yeah, they're on lockdown, and I'm gonna have a talk to them tomorrow because I need some eggs. But no, they got food, they got water, they survived it. How? I have no idea. I really truly have no idea how those hens made it through. I mean that's just that's amazing. No, but those chickens haven't crapped out an egg since. They're protesting the fact we didn't leave.
Dude, I thought you were going to say you went out there and look at your chickens and all the feathers are blown off and they was over there shivering like, goddamn, dude. Can you help a chicken out with a sweater? Yeah, were they?
Dude, there were some wet, soggy chickens. They're like, they're sitting there going, hey, dude, next time, you think about putting us in the truck too and taking our asses out of here. Yeah.
Hey, man, real deal, when you did your storm prep, what kind of groceries did you go get?
You know what? I got lunch meat and, dude, when I went to H-E-B to stock up the people were going crazy through there. The water aisle was completely empty. They were bringing pallets of drinking water out into the middle of the aisle and just setting them down, and people were just grabbing shit. You know what? I grabbed some canned foods. Just fucking ill prepared as shit. Then I got lettuce like I was gonna make a fucking salad. like a fucking Gordon Ramsay or something. Yeah. I'm like, man, maybe some mushrooms. Somebody sliced mushrooms. Boy, those look good. It's like, dude, at that time, I didn't have a generator because I'd blown my generator up on a job, so I didn't have a generator, and I'd given myself, if the power went out, I'd given myself 48 hours to stay without a generator, and then I was gonna tap out and go somewhere, and I didn't know where, but I was gonna go somewhere. Dude, I went to the liquor store and got a gallon and a half of Jack. I got a couple of cases of Diet Coke. I got some top ramen, got some canned corn, some frozen, Italian, those meals in a bag, got some garlic bread, just fucking stupid shit. No pork and beans, no soup, nothing that if you did not have electricity would stay, So I'm sitting there, and of course, after the power's out for a day, because I'm such a pussy, I open up the refrigerator and I look at that lettuce and I'm like, oh, you can forget a fucking salad, Yeah, but I got a couple of 18 packs of eggs. Didn't get near enough beer, but that's here nor there, And I'll tell you what was the biggest crippler. I got those Krueg. I got that Krueg coffee deal with the K-cup. Well, dude, you got no power. You can't work that son of a bitch. So the morning after, it's like, boy, what I wouldn't give for a cup of coffee.
Well, my house almost got blown over, and I ain't got no power for this Keurig coffee maker. What a shame.
Yeah, rub two sticks together, try to make a cup of coffee is like, God damn. Yeah, but I mean, then, once I started digging out, and I did a little horse trading for that first generator, dude, once I got electricity, dude, yeah, Thomas Edison, yeah, I'd like to shake that motherfucker's hand. I told you how I came upon that first generator, didn't I?
No, what happened?
I went over to Weasel's house to check on, the state of his place, and his neighbor 2 doors down was backed into the driveway. Well, dude, you know what, man? When a disaster like this happens, there's very little road traffic because there's so much debris on the road. Well, I backed into Mike's house because I told him, hey man, I made it. I'm going to grab all of your bottled water. Cause I had 9 gallons of water at the house, 9 gallons of drinking water. And that was it. That was all I got from HEB. Cause I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Yeah.
I told Mike, I said, hey dude, man, I made it. I'm going to go over to your house. I'm going to, grab propane from my grill. I'm going to grab your bottled water and, any beer you got, I'm going to grab that. And, just so you know, via text because we can't make any phone calls. Well, when I backed into Mike's driveway, his neighbor was down there. So I figured, I better go over and introduce myself so he doesn't think I'm looting or something like that.
Yep. So
I walked over there. It's a cool guy. His name's Jason, some other. And, we start talking and I said, hey, I'm Mike's, buddy. And, I come over to feed his chickens and I'm going to rummage through and get what I can get. And this guy's house is tore up tight. And, we're sitting there talking bullshit and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, man, I really wish I had some tarps to cover up the top of my house. And I go, dude, I really wish I had a generator. And he goes, well, man, I got a small generator here. It ain't big, but it'll work. And I go, dude, as luck would have it, I got the tarps at the house. You want to do a little trading? He's like, dude, how many tarps you got? I said, I don't know, man. How valuable is the generator to you? Yeah. And I said, hey man, I'll be honest with you, man. I got a couple of 100-foot rolls of Tyvek, which is house wrap, which is it's water barrier. I said, man, let me use your generator, and we'll undoubtedly cross paths again. Let me use your generator because he came down from San Antonio. I said, dude, I'll give you everything you need to fix your roof. Just come to the house. And he's like, no kidding? I said, yeah, man. So we drove back to my house. He gave me his generator, and I opened up my shop, and I was like, dude, here's a roll of Tyvek. Here's another roll of Tyvek. I said, you got to hold it down. He's like, well, I got some screws. I said, no, that won't work. I said, open up my work trailer. Dude, here's a slap tacker. Here's 5,000 staples. This is what I would do, blah, blah, blah. I said, how are you getting up on the roof? He goes, man, I don't know. I said, see that big ass extension ladder there? He goes, yeah. I go, what else you got to trade? He looked at me and I was like, dude, I'm fucking with you. You go ahead and take it. Yeah. I'm like, no, dude, you use that thing as much as you want. I mean, it's rated for 300 pounds. Hold my big ass. You take it, strap it down to your truck. And he starts laughing. And he's like, God damn, dude, you are a lifesaver. I'm like, I've been called a lot of things. Lifesaver's not one of them. But, dude, if there's, anything you need, this is where I'm at. I'm dug in, and his wife was walking around and she's like, Jesus Christ, you rode the storm out? I was like, yeah. There's not a bunch of laboratories asking for my DNA, because I'm not super fucking smart. Yeah, yes, ma'am, I wrote it out. Yeah, so that's how I came up with my first generator. And then Mike come down and he brought me, 200 pounds of ice, 50 gallons of gas, and another generator. And then a couple of days ago, a brother and sister that I boarded up their house for them, they bought a generator and brought it down, and they were like, dude, you're gonna be helping people more than we are. So here, this is for boarding up our house. So they gave me a new generator. So now basically I got two big ones and one small one, and the customer came down today and brought me another 50 gallons of gas and, 10 cases of water and, a fucking case of light beer. I'm like, dude, really? You take that shit back with you. Dude, I ain't drank light beer since I was in college. Like, yeah. All of a sudden now I'm the beer snob. In the middle of a fucking hurricane cleanup, it's like, no, dude, I ain't drinking that shit. You can take it with you.
Fucking Harvey has just destroyed the town of Rockport, and you ain't drinking light beer.
Dude,
what a prick.
Sculpin. I got four Sculpin in the fridge, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, man, I'll have one on even numbered days, and I'll cross my fingers that the grocery store opens up. Dude, can I open up a beer and add water to it to kind of dilute it?
God dang. Dude, it's good. I'm laughing over here, and you're laughing. You just rode the storm out. But, man, I was talking on my Tuesday podcast. I've been watching the Weather Channel ever since I got home from filming Broken Skull Challenge, and I'm just devastated. And Chris and I have made donations to a couple of organizations in the Houston area. Yeah, it's serious business. So we're glad you made it okay because we was worried about you. And when they keep showing the pictures of the Rockport area, and I know that area very well, and there's that one, I guess it's Rockport, is it Rockport or Port A, where they got that blue building, and I was watching all this, and you didn't have your television because you didn't have power. That blue metal storage building where all those boats, there's about 10 rows of boats in it.
Yeah.
What the fuck is up with that? That thing is just totaled.
They lost so many boats, because obviously it's a metal building. It peeled that metal off. Dude, that thing, I swear to God, it's eerie to walk in because it's about 50 feet tall, and they stacked all those boats. They pick those boats up out of the water with this big-ass forklift, and they take it over to all these racks, and they raise them up, and they store them in this thing. It holds hundreds of boats. It's like being in a parking garage with the middle cut out of it and walking through it and looking at all of the cars. Same premise with the boats. Well, once that wind started and the sides blew off, dude, those boats started falling off of the tops and, all of the different levels of storage. And it's like, holy shit, dude. I went to a customer's house this evening. And, you know, you got to be in at sundown because they've got a curfew. You know, so I went over to survey the damage and, you know, going to call them tomorrow and take them, you know, tell them what the deal is. I'm looking out over Little Bay. There is an offshore boat, undoubtedly hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's sunk. And half of it is sticking up out of the water. And I'm sitting there talking on the phone to this guy, and I'm looking at this boat, and I'm like, the fucking boat is sunk. It's surreal. You know, I mean, the stuff, the devastation that you're looking at, you know, is like, you know, I don't even know how to describe it. You know, they're going door to door looking for people that didn't make it. It's like, yeah, you know, we're laughing about it now, but you know, you laugh to keep from freaking out. You know, yeah, dude, I'm driving around town looking at the destruction and looking at places hoping that people weren't dumb enough like me to stay because there's no way they could have survived.
Man, I was reading the ticker tape and it said, I guess like only 40% of the people decided to evacuate. So 65% of Rockport, or 60% of Rockport, I guess, decided to ride it out. I mean, so there's a lot of people tried to ride that thing out. Tell me that story about that. You went to that place today. I don't know if it was to bid a job or what, because your phone started blowing up today. And the people had about an $80,000 boat, and they were. And
oh, yeah.
Tell me that story.
Yeah, dude. It's the people that used to sell us deer feed.
Oh.
Yeah, you know who it is.
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, dude. No, I drove down. They had just retired and moved down here to Rockport last year, and they were doing shit. Their house was right down the road from the remodel I was doing. And I was driving around today, and I said, man, I need to go check on those folks. So I drove down there, and their gate's open, and there's two vehicles in there. And it's you know, the wife and her sister. You know, and you know, they're tickled to death to see me. And I'm like, you know, man, how is the house? Oh, dude, half of the roof is gone. You know, the boat lift is gone, all that stuff. And the wife, in jest, says, hey, have you gone fishing? You know, because, I mean, that's what we do down here. And I'm like, no. You know, nobody's fishing. And she goes, well, next time you go out, keep your eye out for, you know, a 24-foot blue Haney boat. And I'm like, are you serious? And she goes, yeah, Gerald had his boat up on the lift, and it's gone. I mean, the fucking boat is gone. Nobody has seen it. Nobody has heard from it. Nothing. About $80,000 boat, gone. You know, I can only imagine, you know, what the marinas and stuff look like. You know, but I walked to their house, and she's like, yeah, you know, that's where my kayak launch used to be. That's where the boat lift used to be. And it's like, holy cow.
All right, let's take a quick pause for the calls and thank another sponsor who makes this podcast possible, and that's MyBookie. MyBookie.ag has been the #1 rated online sports action site for 3 straight years. With the new NFL season about to start, you can join thousands of online players and start betting at MyBookie. MyBookie has in-game live betting, the most rewarding player perks in the business, and an all-new best-in-class mobile website that makes wagering on the go a breeze. And unlike some other websites you might find, MyBookie offers fast, no-hassle payouts when you win. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 100% bonus. Use the promo code UNLEASHED to activate this special offer. Visit MyBookie.ag today or call 844-900-BETS. Expert or rookie, you got to check out MyBookie. Sign up today and use the promo code UNLEASHED to activate the special offer.
Hey everyone, it's former WWE host Lillian Garcia. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever wonder how your favorite stars make it to the big time? Then come check out my new show, Chasing Glory with Lillian Garcia on PodcastOne.com. Hear me chat with some of your favorite athletes and entertainers about their rise to the top. It's about to get real, raw, and inspiring. So join me for new episodes every Monday on PodcastOne.com, the new Podcast One app, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
This is Steve Austin Unleashed.
Hey man, I saw that trailer park, and there was one guy who was an older gentleman. He was walking with his dog, and he rode out that goddamn hurricane in his trailer. And I guess, thank God, his trailer didn't get turned over. But dude, that thing had strewn trailers that tumbled around like tumbleweeds. They was turned over on their sides. It was in the roads. Shit, there was one might have been Houston. One was about 10 feet up in a pile of trees. One of the guys was doing an interview down there from the Weather Channel, and that jewelry store that guy paints the pictures of the cranes. I can't remember his name. But anyway, his jewelry store had blown down, and he was talking to that guy, and he just gathered up a bunch of nuts and bolts and nails and just shit that you would find on the road. And so, like if you're going to ride around, you're going to get a flat tire. So did you get in your truck other than going to Weasel's house and just make a loop or a lap and just check out all the devastation and stuff? Or have you got a true glimpse of the damage that was done?
Yeah, dude, I've driven all over town. I mean, you gotta really pick your path because of the debris in the road. Because if you get a flat tire now, you're screwed because there ain't no tire shops open. I have driven around a good portion of the town, my friends and customers and stuff like that, and seen what is going on. But, man, you know what's really sad, what's really disheartening to see is now that they're allowing people to come back into town, people are coming to their house. Now this thing blew up Friday. Here it is Tuesday. And a lot of these people are coming into town and seeing this stuff for the first time, and there's older couples walking around. This morning I saw it, real deal. These older people walking around in their front yard, house is destroyed, and they're just gathering up odds and ends and shit. And I don't know if they're in shock. I don't know if they're, I don't know what, but it's like, dude, why are you guys are making a pile like they're going to salvage this stuff? And it's like, dude, man, what do? You stop and talk to them, ask them if they need some help, or, you guys need a bottle of water? No, we're good. I'm carrying around a cooler full of bottled water and stuff like that, and offering it to whomever I see.
Yeah.
But these people are just walking around. The lady with the remodel, I finally spoke to her on the phone, and she's bald, and I'm like, man, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I can't say I'm sorry because I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I feel for you. It's unfortunate, but and just to see the destruction and the people walking around, and I imagine I'd be doing the same thing. Looking at whatever remnants were there. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Looking at pictures and picking up, plates and bath towels and shit like that. It's like, man, holy fuck, your house is gone. And you're picking up silverware. It's like, holy shit. Yeah, I don't know. Man, I don't know how long it's going to take to rebuild. But I mean, the destruction, the devastation, dude, it is a war zone down here.
God damn it. We're talking about the devastation and that Houston area. Now that your television is back on, correct? Or your satellite, or are you just watching DVDs? No, you got nothing.
Oh, I'm just watching DVDs, yeah.
Okay, so, man, Houston is just destroyed. They got 51 inches of rain. I mean, you're talking about that whole area. I talked to Mike and I talked to Clay. I'm talking about from the ranch.
Yeah.
And they're both okay, and they made it, and they're on a little bit higher ground, so that they're doing okay. But god dang, dude, when you see Houston, I mean, 'cause dude, Houston, like I said, Houston floods easy anyway, and then with this amount of rain, and to watch those people just walking in chest high water, you talk about heartbreaking. I just can't tell. I can't. It's hard to tear away from the TV just to.
Right.
I'm at my house. I'm in Los Angeles, but dude, Texas is my fucking home. And god dang, man, I'm just watching these people and just have their lives ripped apart by this fucking storm. It is a heartbreaker. And god dang, dude, the humanity, the people factor is bad enough. I saw a couple of guys, they were herding some cows to higher ground, and God knows where they're going to take them. But just think, first of all, the humanity and all the human lives impacted. And then, it's like cows, the deers, the coyotes, the pigs. I mean, all the wildlife. Yeah. And me and Kristen were talking about that. And she goes, well, where do they go? And I said, well, goddamn, I said, instinctively they're going to try to go to higher ground. But to answer your question, I don't know, because I imagine they were freaking the fuck out because all this water's rising up where they're at. And dude, it is a total and entire clusterfuck of well, they call it an 800-year storm. I ain't been around 800 years, neither has anybody else. But I've never seen anything like it. And like that glimmer of sun came out at the end of the day. And as I've been watching this, I was like, man, Thursday and Friday, hurry up and get here, because that's when they were predicting the rain would stop. And there's a chance it might circle back. Yeah. And finally, it stopped raining to a degree for right now. And I'm like, motherfucker, and that water's going to stay like that for months, dude, months. And then it's going to take, Houston will never be the same city that it was. And, I know Katrina changed New Orleans, but Houston, as you know it, from when you used to ride up there and play your softball tournaments, it ain't going to be the same. And it's going to, they're saying, obviously, dude, it's going to take years to recover from this, and when they do rebuild it, it will be built differently, and it won't function the same. But it's off the charts as far as magnitude. You just said that there's a curfew here in Rockport for the looting. My Kristen was talking to Neil, and Jenny, my sister, and them are staying. I think they're staying in Ganado or somewhere where they have electricity, because they don't have electricity in Victoria. And Neil was going to stay at their house. And, my brother-in-law is a police officer. And because of the looting, and everybody's breaking in people's houses and stealing shit, he had to stay over there with, his girlfriend and their parents, because there's adults here. Neil's only 17 years old. But, goddamn, dude, in the worst of times, when nothing could get any worse than what's going on, motherfuckers are breaking in, the looters. I'm like, dude, it's one thing. I don't want to go crazy, but goddamn, dude, you talk about kicking a goddamn dog kicking somebody when he's down. You're gone because you had to get evacuated. Now somebody's gonna come in behind you, break in, and steal all your shit. God damn it! What a fucking low life.
That's exactly why I'm not leaving the house for more than a couple of hours at a time. Because I live at the end of a dead-end road. My shit's pretty intact. I'm pretty isolated out here. My neighbor just come back yesterday from San Marcos, and he's a big old boy, too. And he was like, I know you've been, keeping your eye on the road. I said, yeah. I said, I haven't seen anybody. Now that you're here, you watch my place, I'll watch your place. I've been keeping an eye on the neighbor's place. State trooper came down the road today. And, I'm out cutting up trees. Dude, I got my that ion beatbox going. I'm making the best of the most. I got my music blaring, doing my thing, and the state trooper pulls up, and he's looking, rolls his window down. I walk out to greet him. He says, well, man, you look like you did all right, except for the trees. I said, yes, sir. I said, hey, man, just so you know, I'm a contractor here in Rockport. Man, I've got plywood, I've got tarps, I got plastic, I got nails. If you guys run into somebody in a real spot, have them come down here to Prairie Road, and I'll do what I can. I said, hey, now, man, how much shit are you guys running into in town? And you know what I'm asking?
Right.
How much looting and, yeah. And he goes, dude, there's, more than you would think. And it's like, dude, fucking, uncle. I mean, goddamn, the town is on its knees, and you're going to kick it and, steal somebody's shit? Yeah. No, dude, that makes me sick, that people would do that. But you know what, man, that's people are people. They're going to drive down the road and, man, look, there's a couch right there, or there's a tool or, something, who will know? I'll just swing by and grab it, and pick it up. Man, you'll know, but you ain't got no conscience. There's no talking to you.
So where do you try to gather up your information, Teddy, with all the sources? Well, you listen to radio, right? Or local stations, or how are you getting your 411?
Dude, there's one FM radio station that is more geared towards what's going on in Corpus.
Yeah.
There's one FM radio station that's up and going right now that, gives you the 411 on Corpus, and hey, they got trash pickup scheduled for next week. I'm like, trash pickup? Fuck, I ain't even got electricity. Yeah, you guys talk about trash pickup. There is an AM station, ironically enough, out of Victoria that gives updates on, what's going on here. But dude, as far as seeing a weather radar or a weather satellite or, any of that stuff, dude, there's no TV to speak of. My internet, my cell phone sucked at the house before the fucking hurricane, so you can only imagine afterwards. So when I try to do something on my phone, it buffers and it buffers and it buffers. So I'm really fucked. I'm asking people, that are asking about their house, take a screenshot of what you're looking at the weather channel right now and send it to me on my phone, because I can't get anything.
Wow.
That's how primitive I'm getting my info right now, because I'll be perfectly honest with you, if you held a gun to my head, I could not tell you where the storm was, because I don't have any idea. I know it ain't at, the end of Prairie Road. That's all I know for sure. Dude, I have no idea what's going on in the town from a news standpoint. What affairs are set up? No, I got no idea. I drive through town and I see places, and it's like, I pull over, hey man, what do we got going on here? Do you need some water? No, I'm good. We're giving out, loaves of bread. You good? No, man, I'm good. Give it to somebody else. I got everything I need. So I'm fortunate in that regard, but I have no idea what's going on. Because the radio coverage, they're doing the best they can, and I don't want to start shooting holes in their effort, by saying, well, they should do this, they should do that, be a naysayer. They're doing the best they can at providing the information they can. There's more people in Corpus than there is in Rockport, and I understand, why the focus is on that. Dude, but as far as what's going on here in town, I have no idea. When they're going to start pumping gas, when any stores are going to open. And I'm guesstimating on me having electricity at my house in the next 10 days. Because I don't know.
So what are you running with your generators? Your refrigerator or your freezers before your meat doesn't spoil, or has it already spoiled?
No, none of my shit's spoiled.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to save everything. Now, during the day, I run the refrigerator and the freezer just to keep everything tight. And then once nighttime comes, because I can cook on my stove because it's propane, I've got that 500-gallon plastic water cistern on the side of my house, so I've got 500 gallons of water. So I'm dipping it out with a pail and putting it in a 5-gallon bucket and then bringing it in. And, you know, if I'm going to do dishes, I'll boil it. If I'm going to use it for cooking, I'll boil it. You know, otherwise, you know, the dogs have been drinking it all along. They're fine. You know, I'll heat it up and use it for bathing. But in the evening time, like now, I just jerry-rigged my window AC unit from the laundry room into the bedroom. You know, so I can at least, you know, have a little AC at night. But now that it's nighttime, I still got the Jenny running. I'm watching the DVD, got the fan blowing on me. And when I'm ready to go to bed, I'll turn all this stuff off and fire up that window AC unit, my CPAP machine, and, you know, sleep like a baby.
God damn it. Where do you start? I mean, because, well, it's like the people, they're coming in from out of town and letting people back in, and they're seeing the devastation.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's just completely numbing and devastating and heartbreaking. And they're picking their shit up. You know, they're picking their lives up out of the lawn. And so they're processing everything, and they just got hit with a gigantic sledgehammer because everything that they hoped and dreamed for is gone. So now, when you got your coverage this morning, you said, man, you had about 40 messages, people checking in on you, and also people wanting you to do work for them. So you're a contractor, you're a carpenter, you're a builder. Like, where do you start? I mean, like, how do you take that first phone call and book the first job? I mean, like, okay, we've got to start from scratch here, or minor repairs. How will you go about delegating what your priorities are and who you will work for as far as with respect to the job and the rebuilding process? Because, dude, you know me, I'm not a handy guy. So how do you go about just getting back in business with respect to the whole town has to rebuild? How are you going to pick and choose your spots?
Dude, first off, I mean, the customers that have been with me that I have become friends with,
yeah,
they're first on the list. Now the insurance companies are going to come through and, you know, do their adjusters will come through, and, you know, this is a total write-off, and they're going to, you know, send a check and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Now I prioritize how loyal were they to me? You know, how much do I want to help, you know, these people out? And that sounds awful, but dude, I can't help everybody. You know, I'll help the people closest to me as best I can. And honestly, what I think is going to happen, because I've got to call into my real estate agent, because she sent me a couple of text messages, you know, and I need to talk to her face to face. But what I think is going to happen is all these people trust me, and they know, you know, that I'm a stand-up dude. You're going to have all these people coming in from out of town that are going to try to, you know, do their storm chaser thing and you know, gain financially from this. I think these people are going to tell me, hey, we want you to be the general contractor and oversee the whole project. And I'm going to have to, you know, hire these out-of-town subs and ride herd on them while we put all this stuff back together. Because Rockport does not have the labor pool to do this type of restoration. Not at all. You know, so you've got all these people from out of town that have their house here. They don't know these other companies from out of town, but they know me. You know, and they're calling me already, going, "Hey, dude, we want you to rebuild our house." Well, I'm a one-man operation, being a helper. You know, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to try to ferret out the good for the bad subs and start putting this thing back together. You know, without killing myself or without doing anybody wrong. It's an awkward setup.
God damn, dude.
You know, my biggest fear is that a bunch of people blow into this town and take advantage of the situation and spool up and leave, and we've got just as much dog shit afterwards as we had before. You know, so dude, I don't know.
Has anybody sent you pictures of Houston or any of that stuff?
Dude, I got a couple of pictures, but they didn't tell me anything. The guy's front yard, you know, and water halfway up to his door. But no, I haven't seen on the TV what's going on with the rest of the world. I really, truly have no idea. I mean, the people from Houston are calling me up, and they're like, dude, you know, I can't believe you stayed, man. I mean, it's just devastating. And I'm like, yeah, man, it sucks, but I mean, it's good now. I'm not waist deep in water. I'm high and dry. You know, fuck, I cooked a steak the other night. You know, it's like I'm gonna have some Italian food, some garlic bread tomorrow night. I ain't doing that bad. I mean, this is like a very poorly planned camping trip, but I'm not doing that bad. I mean, you guys are, you know, like you were saying, carrying your dog around on your shoulders because you're waist deep in water. Truth be told, you guys are worse than me. You know, fuck, I'm sitting here in my living room, you know, watching Tom Hanks on, you know, fucking Castaway. Only because I wanted to see if he had any, you know, little secrets for me. You know, but it's like, dude, you guys are covered up with water, man. You got it bad. Shit, I got it good. Come to my house. You know, we'll barbecue and drink beer. Man, you guys got it bad, not me. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. You know, until you go driving through town and, you know, see that houses are completely, there's nothing left but the foundation. And I drove by a place today, I'm looking at a guy's couch because he ain't got no walls. Like, holy fuck, man, how would you drive into town not knowing what to see and you pull up and there's nothing?
Yeah.
Not somebody kicked in the door and took your TV and your stereo. I mean, the goddamn house is gone. The walls are gone. The roof is gone. You know, how do you plan for that? How do you cope with that? Shit, I don't know.
Dude, how you doing with the lack of contact with the outside world? Your cell phone works intermittently. I've been able to leave some voice messages from you right now. You're on a telephone. I'm on my computer in LA. Yeah. But how has this given you any different perspective on just technology? Because, I mean, dude, you don't know what the fuck's going on. You know what the fuck's going on in Rockport, but outside of a 10-mile radius, you don't know shit.
No, dude, you're absolutely right. I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't know what's going on in San Antonio. You know, I don't know what's going on in Beeville. Dude, I don't know shit. You know, and it's one of those things where I did not value the importance of all of the stuff that happened to other people. You know what I mean? Dude, you know, I keep to myself. I don't fuck with nobody. I don't want nobody to fuck with me. I want to go out. I want to make my money, do my thing, and come home and be left alone, dude. I don't want nothing from nobody. That's just how I roll. You know that. And now, dude, I'm driving around having experienced this, pulling up to random people. You guys need any help? You know what, ma'am? Let me change that tire for you. You know, real deal. Man, I'm solid cat. Let me do that for you. You guys got water? You know, how's your house? You know, you need, you know, any construction material? You know, stuff like that, which I would never in a million years thought that I would do. Dude, I'm doing now, and I'm not even thinking about it. Dude, this is the real deal. You know, you go through something like that, it's like, you know, holy moly. You know, I mean, yeah, it's you know, I spoke to your mother today. You know, and I mean, it was like, you know, she was tickled to death to hear from me, and I felt bad, you know, for not getting a hold of her sooner. You know, but you know, they're weathering the storm as best they can. You know, and it's like, man, you got a real appreciation for human life when you go through this situation. You know, and I you know, I took that shit for granted. I did not put enough emphasis, you know, in it. Well, I'm learning.
Yeah. Man, I tell you what, my mom, you know, all of a sudden I started hearing about this hurricane, and all my brothers and my sister trying to talk my mom into getting out of Edna. And my mom wasn't going nowhere. She's been through hurricanes, tornadoes. I mean, Jesus Christ, she's 76, give or take. And she just wasn't going to have it. She wasn't going to leave. And Dad wanted to leave. He wanted to go to San Antonio. But my mom was not going to leave. They kept saying, and Kristen even tried to talk my mom into it. You know my mother. When my mother makes up her mind or you piss her off, first of all, you ain't going to change your mind, and she'll never like you again. And I'm exactly like her.
You fucked out on it.
Oh, yeah. And so I called her, and I already knew what was going on with Mom, and because I know her, and I'm more like my mother than any of my brothers or my sister are. And I called her up and said, "Hey, Mom, just calling to check in, see how you guys are doing. I heard a hurricane was coming through." And she goes, "Yep." And she was kind of short, you know. And I could already sense it. Okay, Steve's calling to try to talk me into leaving now. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna head this thing off at the pass real quick. And I said, "So y'all gonna ride it out, huh?" She goes, "Yep." And I said, "Well, if you got a plan, might as well stick to it." And from that point on, we had a good conversation because she knew number two, Scott's the oldest, I'm number two, that number two, I know her. I'm exactly like she is, I would rather put. So I knew I wasn't going to talk her out of shit, so I figured I ain't going to piss her off.
Right.
So, anyway, they rode it out, and then they lost power for a short time, and fortunately, for just by fluke and being lucky, their grid came up first, so they got power back while Kevin's still on a generator. Jeff is over, my brother Jeff, with those people that listen to the show, is over living with Kevin and Mary. And then Scott moved over to Dallas. You know, Scott was driving back and forth from Dallas to Houston with his job in the oil field business, and he was living in a camper. And I would imagine Scott's camper probably got blown away. I need to call him and check, as a matter of fact, because I was just thinking he was in Dallas, he was safe. I forgot about that camper until I was just talking to you now, but that's where he lives during the week when he's working in Houston. But anyway, so Mom's doing good, and goddamn, dude, it's going to be a long time for this thing settles down. But hey, man, let's wrap up the podcast. Next time, when I go back to the house next door, I will take a couple of screenshots of some of the Houston photos, and I keep saying Houston because Houston was. I mean, it's that whole region. When I say Houston, all of the lives that are up and down that corridor, they got smoked. I'm talking about all of it. So I'm not trying just to center on Houston. Houston is the center. It's the biggest town. It's the third or fourth largest city in the United States. Dude, that whole region is just devastated, and. You ain't seen no pictures of it, so I'll send you a couple of screen grabs. No. And that's why I've been just glued to the TV, because I'm like, God dang, man, I feel bad for these people. And, dude, I love Texas. And to see all this shit come from something, I thought, hey, man, it's going to turn into a tropical storm. It ain't going to be shit. And that shows how dumb I am, because I was happy to see that motherfucking sun come out today, and I hope that it ain't going to start raining again tomorrow. And just the process of the rain not coming down, somehow, some way, they say the water doesn't know which way to go, or it can't go nowhere. It's got to do something, but it's going to take a long ass time.
You know what, dude? I mean, we're fortunate here in Rockport that we didn't take a tremendous amount of rain, a tremendous amount of storm surge. It wasn't a lot. I mean, there was flooding in the downtown area, but there wasn't much flooding up here by the house. But our main destruction was from the wind. And I mean, dude, it's I'll send you pictures, because I drove around, and photographed some more houses that I'd worked on. It is ridiculous just how violent Mother Nature is. I mean, it's if you don't take anything else from this lesson, kids, Mother Nature does not fool around. That is for sure.
Well, it was different. It was weird because y'all took the ass whooping from the wind and certainly rain as well, but y'all took the ass whooping from the full force of that goddamn storm. And then Houston and that area took the ass whooping in the form of all the goddamn water. I know the wind was an issue and there's shit blowing in the air, but I mean, they took the ass whooping from the water. And there's a lot of ass whooping. And so there's going to be a lot of lives destroyed. And dude, and they haven't even gotten out to, all the rescues they've been making. I mean, dude, they're in like all kinds of boats, bass boats, John boats, aluminum boats, picking people up off roofs with the helicopters. And, that's the people that they're saving. And dude, you only have a few television or what, cameras out there in the field. So there's so many more people. And that's the people that got rescued. So there's going to be a lot of people, dude, that there's going to be some bodies found because people didn't make it.
I saw some first responders walking around right after Saturday morning. I was driving around town and I saw these guys walking around, and they've got on the high vis vest.
Yep.
And I pulled up to them and I'm like, hey man, you guys good? I got water. Everything good? And they're like, yeah, no, we're good. You live around here? I said, no, man, I live on the north side of town. I said, I'm down here surveying damage for customers, because I didn't know any better. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, man, the very first thing we do is go door to door. We knock on every single door and see if anybody's in there and, check for, people being alive. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, dude, that's, why we carry these cans of spray paint. If we go into the house and nobody's in there, we spray paint a big red X on the side of the door showing that we have checked it and there's no, inhabitants. And I'm like, boy, how do you process that?
No shit.
Yeah, dude, I mean, you laugh and cut up and, like we do. I mean, there's bullshit and doing all the stupid shit we do, and all of a sudden you're hit in the face with that. And you motherfuckers are walking around looking at dead people.
Right.
It's like, God damn it. You know what, man? Yeah, no. Dude, I don't, it's like, holy moly. Yeah, I'm still trying to process that whole, thought. It's like, there's, how many people are gonna, who do I know that's dead? I don't know. Because they ain't gone all the way through the town. It's something else. It is really, truly something else.
Well, goddamn, dude, it was good catching up with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clear out and turn the TV back on and see what's going on down there. And man, it's good talking to you, everybody. Because, hell, they know about our exploits and all our shenanigans down at the Broken Skull Ranch in deer season and our friendship. Man, dude, everybody's asking me because, man, they heard the storm was hitting in Rockport. How many times we talked about Rockport on the damn podcast, and everybody's like, man, have you heard from Ted? Have you heard from Ted? Is Ted okay? And I'm like, dude, I don't know.
Ted Fowler 361 is alive and well, and business reopens on Monday. Yeah, no, dude. I mean, I laugh and joke about it. I mean, it's fun. But you know what, man? If you don't laugh about it, you'll cry about it. So you try to make the best of an awful situation. And I feel for everybody that lost, anything during this storm. And that, I'll do the very best I can to help everybody I can. But I'll tell you what, next time there's a hurricane in the Gulf, my narrow ass is out of town. Yeah.
God damn it. All right, Teddy. Ted Fowler 361. He's on Twitter. He's on Instagram under Ted Fowler 361. He's alive and well and kicking it in Rockport, Texas. A lot of people didn't fare so well. The whole southeast Texas region is devastated, and boy, my thoughts are with everybody out there. I'm coming back to close the show. It's good to talk to my old buddy, Ted. Ted, I'll catch you later.
All right, man.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cues. Time to wrap up this podcast and ride off into the sunset. Before I do, I want to say I ain't got no videos for you to watch, but if you get on YouTube or if you type in weather.com and go to the Weather Channel, you can see all the updates that are going on down there in the Houston region now as it spreads into Louisiana. All the devastation and damage that has happened. It's a very, very serious thing that's going on right now. So many hundreds of thousands of lives forever changed, and Texas will be forever changed, as will the great city of Houston and that whole region. And Ted told me after I told him, hey man, I hit the pause button, I'm not recording anymore. And there was an emotional moment shared between the two of us, and he goes, hey man, he goes, was that podcast okay? He goes, I'm all over the place. And he's talking about his range of emotions. And when you look at the pictures that he texted me, the houses that he spent his time and effort on and that he was so proud of, and how invested he is in that neighborhood, in that town of Rockport, and they got their ass kicked. You know, it was almost like the guy had PTSD. And maybe it was too soon to do an interview, but everybody on Twitter kept asking me, hey man, how's Ted Fowler 361? They keep tweeting him and sending him messages, but he doesn't answer back. Well, he couldn't answer back. He didn't have any signal, so I decided to talk to him. So he's going through a range of emotions like everybody is down there, trying to pick up the pieces of their lives and try to say, where do you go from here? How do you start from here? What do you do? What's the first step? You know, people walking around picking up silverware, picking up towels, picking up memories, picking up, you know, everything that they knew, and half of what they knew or all of what they knew might have got blown away. So, yeah, Ted, I feel you. I feel for everybody in that South Texas region. I feel for everybody that storm comes across as it heads to also the great state of Louisiana, who are no stranger to these kind of storms. Going back, I think it was the 12-year anniversary of Katrina yesterday, as a matter of fact. But anyway, hey, the podcast was what it was. Ted's put on a brave face, but he was frazzled, to say the least, and very invested in the city, the little town of Rockport, and all the people that are his friends, and he loves it down there. And he's a guy that doesn't want to bother anybody, and he don't want nobody bothering him. He just wants to do his work, take care of his dogs, hey, drink a couple of beers, and go hunting. He's a very simple guy. That's probably why I like him so much. He's a lot like me. But if you have the wherewithal, please make a donation to whatever charity you see fit that can help out that region down there. I have done the same. I won't tell you where I sent all of my donations or the places I donated to. That would be a decision that you can take care of or make for yourself if you're in a position to do so. I don't have any plugs for the back end of this show. I'll just say, if you want to take the PodcastOne survey to help us out, go to podcastone.com/my-survey and help complete a survey that'll help the Steve Austin Show out and try to find out, you know, what you guys like, what you don't like. But no plugs for nothing. This is straight up podcast, talking with my buddy Ted, talking about all the devastation that hit down there, trying to make light of a bad situation. I'll come back next Tuesday with a different podcast and switch gears, but I will keep talking about the efforts there in South Texas, because that's where I come from, and it is near and dear to my heart. Hey, folks, until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of Steve Austin Unleashed every Thursday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.